FIM Sidecar World Championship moves on to Oschersleben in Germany for the penultimate round of the series. This venue hosts a busy schedule, with the sidecar competitors sharing the weekend with the Endurance World Championship and the E-Power International Championship, and they will have both a sprint and a gold race to contend with at this latest round. Rain was a key factor at round 5 of the Sidecar World Championship held in Schleiz. Virtual Racing were on pole, but it was Tim Reeves Racing, the World Championship leaders, who took the whole shot. They would win the race from flag to flag. Team Suzuki Finland crashing out when contending for 3rd place.
Schleiz was difficult for us. Of course, every race is important for final standings, especially those events with 2 races. So I'm quite pleased with the 2nd place in the first race. Although I really struggled at the start and was a bit unlucky that Reeves passed us. We've been quicker, but the side was not good enough to pass him. 2nd race was even more difficult with a broken brake lever.
Steinhausen Racing would finish as the runners-up, with Virtual Racing in 3rd place. The winners, Tim Reeves Racing. For Sunday's gold race, it was a 180-degree turnaround, starting with the weather. Dry conditions for this 2nd contest at Schleiz. The big difference arrived at the first corner, where Tim Reeves Racing were knocked out of the race by Tim Tyrol. The victory would go to Team Suzuki Finland, with Virtual Racing in 2nd.
We had a small problem in qualifying with I suppose, with our best engine, so we had to use the spare, which is a little bit lower spec. But we did okay. We finished 3rd and did the best that we could with what we had. We did a lot of work with the engine, with our engine builder, John Baker from Jebs. So now we should be a lot stronger in this.
Respective victories for Tim Reeves Racing and Team Suzuki Finland leave them level at the top of the standings on 120 points. Only 6 points separating joint leaders in the championship, Tim Reeves Racing and Team Suzuki Finland, from joint 2nd place teams Virtual Racing and Steinhausen Racing. The season is a tipping point heading into round 6. We caught up with the title challengers for their opinions on the 2012 campaign so far.
There's more competitive teams in it this year, for definite, yeah. I think everybody is interested to be in the sport a little bit more than normal, and everybody's trying really hard to make the bikes competitive and find every ounce of power that they can from everywhere. So it's good racing. It's the way it should be. We need to be consistent, and try and win. We need 3 wins. So, but there's 4 or 5 of us that need 3 wins. So yeah, it's going to be good.
The regulations are good because we have to race stock sport engines. The chassis are similar. We have a few very experienced teams who know how to set up a sidecar and know how to push hard. That makes it so interesting. I think the last 3 races will be a bit tougher because we are so close. Everyone knows that he's able to win a race and win the championship.
It's been the most competitive since I've been doing it, yeah. It's very close, Normally there's only been 3 drivers that could win, but this year there's been 6. One race ago we had a 20-point lead, and We'd worked hard to get that, and then unfortunately due to an incident in the first corner we lost that 20-point lead. So we are the only team out of the top 6 to have had a DNF, but we're still leading the championship.
The balance is up and down. It's not it's good for all the rest of speed teams when not all the same in the front. I think the performance from the day, and I think a little bit lucky, then you see the winner.
The sprint race opened things up for the sidecar riders at Oschersleben. The conditions overcast but dry and warm. 22 teams taking part in qualifying, and after free practice a few of the top teams had to make adjustments to front and back suspension. On pole, Steinhausen Racing, with Birchall Racing alongside them. Team Suzuki Finland completing the front row, Team Schlosser just behind them. The sprint race, the short run to the line, the first of 2 contests at Oschersleben. Race 1 for the weekend, 15 laps. And the top 4 teams jostling for top spot in the championship. It was always going to be a tough race. Tim Reeves Racing taking the whole shot. Birchall Racing just behind them. Tim Reeves Racing, the winners of the first race at Schleiss in the last round, getting a DNF though in the second contest there. And Birchall Racing on top podium form, despite having to use a different engine for the last round. Steinhausen Racing, one of those teams right up in championship contention. Joint second place for them. And now we see a team who had some problems last time around. Connect Rocky Sidecar Racing. Tim Reeves Racing out on a flyer. Also one of those teams as part of the chasing pack. Team Suzuki Finland trying to pull a move on Birchall Racing on this tightened, twisty Oschersleben circuit. By the end of lap 1, everything changing at the front. And there are the ladies of Peterkung Motorsport. We saw them at the top of the show. They did make it through qualifying, able to compete in the race proper. On board with Roche Sidecars, the team of Roche and Newbert. It was very tight, as you would expect in the sprint race. Team Suzuki Finland right behind Tim Reeves Racing and making their way through with a tight pass from Päivärinta and Hani. Schlosser immediately behind Tim Reeves Racing. And the checkered flag is out. The winners, Steinhausen Racing. They build on their strong showing from Schleiss.
We had a good start. First couple of laps, pushing, and then just we got a hard compound front, and the front just kept washing out, and just couldn't go into the corners as fast as we wanted to. So
The start is not so bad, and then Pekka drive very hard and perfect, position 2, and then the tire is not for this style, but it's good. And
so everything was fine now. Very important win for us. Good for confidence for the second race and important for the championship.
Steinhausen Racing taking the win from Team Suzuki Finland, and Tim Reeves Racing completing the podium. Team Schlosser behind them, and Birchall Racing in 5th. And that means the overall standings, Team Suzuki Finland take a definitive series lead. Just 1 point though ahead of Steinhausen Racing. Steinhausen Racing on the top step of the podium in the sprint race at Oschersleben.
Dieser tollen Serie Pokale auf dem Podium nach einem fantastischen Rennen.
Sidecar races are a spectacular show. Just watching the impressive job performed by the passengers at each corner is exhausting enough. It's highly tricky and a question of trust for them, and they spoke about their requirements when passing.
When you get known to the rider, you know what the rider's going to do while he's going to overtake. So you know when you have to wait a little bit longer, or you know when to move a bit earlier. It's not that you communicate, but you know because you've been riding so long together.
When he is braking too early, then you can overtake him. Or when he is in the corner a little bit wide, and then you can go in the inside. When he is braking too late, then he moves wide, and then you can overtake him in the inside of the corner.
You just got to sort of anticipate what he's going to do. You know, it's not up to me when the overtaking comes, so I've got to be ready to be in the right position on the bike. Sometimes he might move out quicker than he normally would before the corner, so I have to anticipate that move, yeah.
There's no way of communication when it goes wrong, or it's up to the rider if he thinks it's safe enough to take the move or to stay behind. Especially you can't let him know anything. If the bike makes a funny move or goes offline, you need sometimes to sit a bit longer to the left or come back a bit earlier. It depends if the bike turns right or left, or if you get a really big slide on, you have to work to make the bike start gripping again.
I suppose along the straight, you've just got to be really tucked down as far as you can, so you know I'm not causing any drag in the air, so we can get the best slipstream possible.
I'm a little bit older, this I'm doing it so safe as possible. But the people they are going for the World Championship, they overtake very, very quick and they hit each other a little bit.
After the 15-lap sprint race, Markus Schlosser and Thomas Hofer of Team Schlosser would not start the 22-lap gold race in the Sidecar World Championship. The team had refused to acknowledge a penalty imposed by the international jury, and they were disqualified from their previous day's 4th position. The gold race, though, was going to be a hard-fought battle for those teams present. Steinhausen Racing to start on pole, Birchall Racing second, Team Suzuki Finland also on the front row. Heading the second row in the absence of Team Schlosser, Tim Reeves Racing. The gold race, 22 laps between the top teams. Separating the top 4, just 33 points. And as the lights go out, Jörg Steinhausen and Gregory Clues getting the whole shot on their Steinhausen Racing LCR BMW, followed by the Birchall brothers Ben and Tom on their Mitchells of Mansfield LCR Yamaha. Right in their wheel tracks, Pekka Päivärinta and Adolf Hani, the series leaders on the Team Suzuki Finland LCR Suzuki. Steinhausen Racing into an early lead, the winners from the previous day. Also jostling to get amongst the front runners, Tim Reeves Racing getting past Birchall Racing and setting off in pursuit of the leader Steinhausen. Some tight passes going on, especially on that tight left-hander. Not an inch of space on this tight and twisty track. Timmery's Racing finding a bit of a gap though, in front and behind, just cushioning that lead. Birchall Racing a little way behind them. There the ladies team Suisse outfit once again on the starting grid. They started from 19th place. Getting up into the action. Oschersleben Sidecar into the top 10 as well. Look how tight this is. Steinhausen Racing being chased by Team Suzuki Finland. And coming up to the back markers as well. Steinhausen Racing taking that well. 3 podium contenders almost side by side. Suzuki Finland pulling in on the left-hand side. There's a crash though on lap 7. Benny Ströer from Team Ströer coming together with Petri Makula of Team Makula. Team Ströer having to DNF the race. Makula gets going again. Drive-through penalty shown to Team Suzuki Finland for passing under yellow flags. That will change the entire dynamic of the gold race. Leaves just Steinhausen Racing and Birchall Racing in contention for the victory. Team Suzuki Finland losing too much time. That will allow Timmery's Racing to move up into one of the podium spots. A real battle going on. They challenge Steinhausen Racing and eventually get past them. Steinhausen Racing the winners on the opening race at Oschersleben. And Steinhausen running off track, running off into the gravel. That will allow Timmery's Racing to take second. Birchall Racing get the win. Steinhausen Racing recovering for third place.
Good man. You're the man, brother.
Number 1.
The others were a bit quicker than yesterday, and we were not as quick as yesterday, so we finished third. But important point again. Bike kept going, that was important today. Although we ended up in the gravel in the last lap, we made it, so I'm pleased for the team.
We were lucky with Pekka getting a drive-through penalty, but you know, rules are rules, and he did pass on a yellow flag, which we could see. So, but yeah, I knew that I would be stronger towards the end, and sure enough, for the last 2 or 3 laps, my tyres were still hanging in there, and the other twos were fading a bit, so I was able to close the gap. But yeah, over the moon, excellent. I'm really happy with second, and I think that puts us back on top of the championship. And
yeah, superb, really. We struggled yesterday. I knew that we'd struggle coming to this circuit. It's just the nature of the track and the way that our engine produces power, but we worked really hard in between slights and here to get as much as we could out of it. And yesterday we struggled a little bit and made some changes, and today, you know, it's paid off. We're thrilled to bits. It was probably the hardest race I've ever had to ride, and to come out on top and win it, and we're back in the title chase, real good and proper now. So yeah, perfect.
A win for Birchall Racing ahead of Timmery's Racing and Steinhausen Racing. Up into 4th, Hegarty and Lawson. After that ride-through penalty, Team Suzuki Finland only take 5th, and that demotes them in the overall standings. Timmery's Racing take an out-and-out lead, again just by a point though, from Steinhausen Racing this time. Tremendously tight at the top of the overall standings. On the top of the podium in the gold race at Oschersleben though, Birchall Racing.
So, Glückwunsch für die Sieger und zu Ehren der Sieger erklingt nun die...
The podium ceremony at Oschersleben out of the way. It's on to Le Mans for the final race of the 2012 Sidecar World Championship season.